What's up, everyone? It's your boy Showtime Doctor. Um, Wanted to make a video, just shout out to doing Epic 7 stuff. I still actually play the game, despite not really doing content for it anymore. I figured it's been a while since I've put out an account update, so I can give you guys some thoughts on my account, as well as where the game is and where it's going right now. Just on a personal level, as far as the content goes, I'm going to try to update a bit more now, because I'm actually in a place where I can do that. But I'll probably never get back to being like the making a guide on everything type guy. It's just the way it is. The content that people consume in this game now, they want to see like super high DPS numbers, really high end combat, and the occasional guide for like Abyss and that type of thing. But for the most part, if I see something, you know, there, I'll put something out. But obviously, as you've seen, I haven't really seen much I need to comment on. So, first we'll get into my account, and then I'll go over changes in the game, how I think it's going, and all that. So, go ahead, roll over to my heroes. Like everybody, I have issues gearing all my heroes, but since the change, I'll show you guys what I'm actually doing. This is Spec Tenebria. I got her from, what was that thing, where you could choose a hero, and most people chose between her and, what do you call him? Arbiter Vildred, who just got the weirdo skin that some people love. To me, it kind of reminds me of like a Final Fantasy VIII enemy skin, but it's kind of humorous in its same way. So these are her stats I got her. I think they're actually pretty good, considering I'm not like a super hardcore gamer. Would love to have her crit, 350-ish, somewhere around there. Would love to have her speed, probably like 220s. But considering the gear I have and her base stats, that's actually not a bad build on her. This is the gear I've gotten. My chest piece is generally my worst piece on her, I believe. But overall, all the other stuff I got... Actually, this one's not that great either, but I got it more for the crit chance, if I remember correctly. But that's a pretty good piece. That's an awesome freaking piece, especially for the crit damage, so... I use her. I was using her in the meta that just kind of expired, which was the Violet. What's her name? Ravi. Yeah, I forget, but that's most of the heroes you would see. Oh, and then what's her face? Belian. I used her for that. A little less on Belian, because Belian could actually smoke her. But she was really good just because she can't really be counterattacked by a Ravi. She can be counterattacked by... She could be counterattacked by Violet, but, she has an attack that basically can hit up to 2 people. So you target someone else, you hope it hits the Violet, and usually if she gets a crit off and it hits Violet, it'll either 1 or 2 shot him, depending, so... That's my best build character right now. Got her on Caladra. Sometimes I switch her depending on what I'm doing, but usually she's on Caladra. Adventurer Ross, he's just been a solid tank for me, and then one of the main reasons I haven't really replaced him... I'm trying to remember the name of that character. But it's the one where she has the ML version. Let me just go look her up. She has the ML version that basically destroys PvP right now and is always first picked and everything. I don't know where they would say she's from, but she's Moonlight. Lilius, okay, so I don't have either Conqueror Lilius or her regular version, which, in my opinion, is actually holding my account back the most right now, because there is so much you could do, even with regular Lilius, but especially with Conqueror Lilius in PvP and PvE. So if I had her, I would instantly probably put most of this gear on her, except I'd make her faster. But in general, Ras is a really great unit. Rolling him with Arius. Especially considering he's a free-to-play unit. You just get a specialization and you go. So he does the majority of my tanky content. Or at least the content where you're required to take a knight. So a lot of the hunts, or not hunts, whatever they're called, the expeditions take them. SSB, I rolled her up just because she's just a fantastic unit all around for pretty much whatever you want to do in the game. Defense break, does a good amount of damage, has some good debuffs, and it puts target up, which I noticed they changed target, by the way. It used to be a flat 30%, I believe, damage. Now it decreases evasion. That was trying to be one of their answers for the Violet meta, I believe. Maybe I'm completely off on that, but it didn't work quite as they intended. But overall, just a solid unit. I like running her in my defense teams. Of course, there's units out there that can completely dome her, especially when, I don't really have much defense on mine. I used to actually run mine crit damage defense, but I wasn't getting enough damage down proc, so I just figured, you might as well run her as freaking, put debuffs up, basically, effectiveness build. So, sometimes, I usually run her on Bloodstone just for the heck of it. Sometimes I roll her with, what do you call that? I put on her otherwise. On Guiding Light, but for PvP purposes, for my defensive teams, just to throw people off in Guild Wars, but doesn't always work, clearly. Vivian, I changed my build on her. I actually gave her a complete penetration set there. And pretty decent damage overall, almost 100% crit. Sits right at 4k. Got her with a little PvP artifact. And it actually works out pretty well. I'm surprised actually the damage that character can do. Not a top tier character at all in PvP, but for your utility stuff, she's putting up immunity. She gives herself greater attack debuff. She's actually, I think, a bit underrated. If I ran her a bit faster like I used to, she'd probably still be pretty viable for most PvP, but the problem is, since there's so much stuff that dispels now, putting up immunity, doesn't work quite the same as it used to in PvP, so... Sermia, literally I just run her for, hunts and that type of thing. Nothing too crazy. To be honest, I should actually probably take some of the gear off her and filter it around to other people. I actually kind of start looking at that, but I do still use it for certain things. I think I rebuilt her when I had Abyss. I was pushing in Abyss a bit. I'll show you guys later how far I got. And yeah, just never really took the gear off her, so just how it works. Sermia, I still use Sermia. She's my one-shot queen for the most part now. I'll show you some of her stats. 343 crit damage. Never managed to get her to 100%, but I do have, what do you call it? The aura thing here, so... which is actually kind of sad, because if I didn't do that, I could actually give her 9% more attack. Which, what would that put her at? Yeah, that'd put her over 5,000, just about 51, 5,200. Right around there. But I mean, overall, as long as I'm taking her, I can switch between playing with fire and the exclusive equipment that gives her a shield based on her attack. So just solid if I need someone to like take out a really tanky unit that's not water, and even in some cases when it is water. She's kind of niche, but she does her job. So probably though, if I got Lilius, like I was saying, I would roll Border Coin onto Lilius. And I don't know, I'd have to figure out something else for Sermia to wear. Probably switch your gear out a little bit. BBK, still use her. Depending on what she's doing. If I need a team that self-heals, she's obviously one of the better candidates. If we can get away with not running a Soul Weaver, that's usually what I end up doing with her. I run her on my defense teams a lot too, because she has turn 1 immunity. Or immortality, rather. I wish it was immunity too, but immortality. So they can get her low if they don't dispel her. She's gonna clean up and she can keep herself up pretty good, as long as I'm rolling her with someone that has Arias or some type of damage sharing mechanic. She's usually pretty good. I run her on some of my defense teams. I have pulled Kraus since the last time I posted an account update, so loving him. He's not necessarily meta anymore, but the good thing about Crow is once you get him to 20,000 health, with his ulti can one-shot almost anyone in the game. I don't really need to go over that too much. I also run him as an Arius. And he's just someone I can put up as a water tank to bait some of the harder hitting Earth Elemental heroes. Get him low, let him ult. Hopefully keep him up. If not, he's a little bit squishier than I want him, to be perfectly honest. I'd love to have more like 1800 defense. But with so much penetrate defense in this game now, it's really gotten to the point where what can you really do? And that's also, even if I had this Arius at like 5 stacks, 5 extra, I could level to 30 basically. I'd probably keep it at 24 because I just don't need him getting hit that hard. Carrot's Carrot, what can you really say about her? Still have her with ridiculous attack. I'm considering taking some of the gear off of her and putting it on, also I wish I could get her faster, to be perfectly honest, but get her gear, well, to another character I'll show you later that I have. When I mentioned that I run Raws for most of my absorption, that's partially true, but to be perfectly honest, I actually run General Purgus in every area where a knight isn't required, so it doesn't work so much for the expeditions, because all the bosses, if you try to put someone like him up front, like Purgus, it'll do extra damage to non-knight heroes. So I run him with Proof, and what I was doing in the last meta, especially with hard-hitting dark heroes like A Ravi, run him with Proof. He's the bait, all the dark heroes hit him, and as you can see, he has just a butt ton of health. Would love to get more defense, but this is just the way his gear worked out here. So everything on it has some type of health knowledge here, and then give my team more combat readiness, which when I run it with another hero I'll show you guys later, every time we get hit and countered, it actually ends up giving us butt tons of combat readiness. So he was my tank, so the only time that he could ever be one-shot is the people that were running the, what's that debuff? I forget, but it's the set where it decreases your max health, because then his health goes down to eventually 16k. And if you're fighting a Ravi and 2 or 3 or 4 people have died on both sides, she's stacking her attack damage. Same thing as what is it, Spectenebria does, where more people that die, the higher her attack damage goes up. So he can be one-shot in those circumstances, or with like a lucky debuff, something like that. But in general, he's really provided valuable, and I still use him against really heavy-hitting dark heroes like Remnant Violet, Spectenebria. There's a bunch of them. So, funny story, I literally just pulled this dude this morning. I could prove it here. Ta-da! So, oh wait, it's there. So that was kind of funny. Sage Seal, not as good as I wanted, but I needed an attack piece with that. So anyway, so I pulled this cat. Still working on him right now. I have to get We're Awakening him. So before I actually started this video, I was farming for the runes, which I am now 5 short. These don't drop that much, but I could combine if I want, but I try not to combine because it's really wasteful in my opinion, unless you're really in a pinch. But overall, I need to get his speed a little bit higher. I would love to get him in the 260s range, because I got another unit that's right there. Miss Pierre, which we'll go over her in a bit. But I'm just starting to build him, so I can't wait to see, because Rand is actually one of the few heroes in the game, for the most part, depending on the combo of heroes he runs, I have a no-fight policy against. Just because I don't have, most people, they have their Rands at like at least 280 speed, 260 when you're fighting them. And at my gear level, it just ain't happening right now. So, but I got him, the reason I have him at 56% crit chance is because I'm rolling him with Alexas. So as long as that procs, his crit's fine. And crit damage, I got it up fairly high. And yeah, he's a work in progress. I still got more stuff to do with him. I believe I still have to enchant some of his skills. Yeah, but, you know, out of these for now, so... It is the way it is. I can do these, but I'll do that later. So, that's my work in progress. Clary, I brought her back. I think I had her de-geared for a bit, but she's really good against one of the expedition bosses, so I rolled her back in. And then Sigrid, that's my dragon killer. Unfortunately, I do not have a piece of gear that is both rage set and crit damage, which she really needs rage set. So I know y'all gonna be like, well, you can just, you know, take your Sermia gear and all that. I've done that, and it doesn't quite perform as... It performs better than this overall, but it doesn't perform because it's not the rage set. It's a crit damage set, which, as you saw with even Sermia, I can't get her to 100% crit yet unless I severely gimp a bunch of other units. But I'm starting to come around, though, because I'm figuring... Wyvern, your Wyvern team is basically where you are in the game, how fast you can farm Wyvern, and especially if you can get the one-shot or near one-shot teams. And that's a work in progress where I would basically have to farm the raid set boss, and I've just never looked into it because I'm not super taking the game massively crazy seriously, but she's still my hunt killer. At some point, I gotta get her more crit damage, and that's just the way it goes. She still does a good job. Landy's Landy, what can I say? I have re-geared her since the last video. Got her to 312 crit damage at 100%. Speed's really slow. Her health is actually a lot better. So, she participates in a couple different things. Not as much as she used to for me, but she's still really good in my opinion. Pierre is another unit I got. I was hoping she'd be one of the crazy power creep meta units. You know, like C. Lilius and all these other heroes they put in the game recently. Angel of Light, Angelica, and all this craziness where, you know, the skill 2 has like 5 passives on it. Ridiculous crap, but as an initiator, she's pretty good. I was actually going to take a bunch of her gear and give it to Rand, because she has most of my best speed set gear. Not that necessarily. That's a pretty decent one. That one actually sucks. I only put that on her because I want speed and health. I think I also snatched her other neck I used to have for someone else. That's pretty good, considering she needs effectiveness and 14 speed. And then 40 boots. It should be 45 boots, but I really needed her effectiveness, so I just rolled that on her. I probably stole her boots for Rand, actually, now that I think about it, because Rand has some... Yeah, 45 speed, but maybe not. I stole it for somebody, I just don't remember who. But anyway, she's not a bad unit per se, and I do use her for some stuff, but just not quite where I wanted her to be. I also didn't get her artifact, so I started rolling her with this. Haven't leveled it at all because I didn't want her with a speed buff, to be perfectly honest, because I want her to stay in stealth for a while. But, you know, for turn cycling, I probably actually should, and for just general tankiness, I should upgrade that, but not a priority. Ceci, to be perfectly honest with this hero, not that good. Does do good niche things, like for defense breaking. I actually think her defense break is one of the best in the game. Just because it's 2 turns. She can spam it. It also decreases attack, which I believe is because of that. Maybe not. Okay, this is just effectiveness. But anyways, it's not bad, but the rest of her kit, whatever. Immunity's nice. I would like this more if it did a provoke as well, but defense break and provoke's probably a little bit OP. I built her up because I was trying to beat that Celine Abyss, which was ridiculous. And I forget if I even used her at the end of it, but I think I did. To be perfectly honest, if I get another tank, I'll probably end up snatching most of her gear and putting it on that, but she was useful for a bit, and I just kept the gear on her. That's how it went. Champ Z is a new hero that I've built up. It was just nice to have somebody that did some type of, you know, debuff remuneration, or basically reflect. So put him on health. I did need him for one of the Abyss bosses as well. Not particularly hard hitting, he's more just there to be annoying and put debuffs back and defense break. So that's how that goes. And Soul, I actually did build him for another Abyss boss, if you noticing a trend here. And I just kept the gear on him. I know he's back for the collab, but having extra souls really doesn't do anything. So, because I already got him at triple S. Which, I should probably actually switch this. Now that I'm thinking about it. It's funny, I was running with defense for so long. Anyways, but, you know, with armor penetration, it's actually kind of solid. If I could get him at 100% crit, I'd probably actually run him more. But that's just how it goes. Doris, I've also built up as well. She's just MVP, in my opinion, as far as against Dark Heroes and in Guild Wars, Guild Battles as an offensive Soul Weaver when you're fighting, like, you know, a Ravi and all the other great hits, Dark units. So, really good, has a really good kit for them, keeps people up. The gear is not particularly stellar, but you don't really need her gear to be stellar. All she really needs, get her as much health and defense as possible. Little bit of speed, everything else is pretty much negligible. And I'm actually running her with Doctor's Bag too, which I thought was fun, because every 3 turns it dispels 1 debuff and adds extra health to all the units. So, considering that most of her skills are actually on a, you know, this is a 3-turn cooldown, this is a 4-turn cooldown. You know, you can get the benefits of that pretty easily. Because I know a lot of people run her with, what's it called? Potion Vial. But, yeah, for me, it's just like, well, I can remove 1 every 3 turns, or I can remove 3 total every 3 turns. So, yeah, it's random. And you can kind of pick your spots when you want to do it. And, you know, there's different times for different things, so. I ended up building Dark Corvus. Literally, the only reason I built this guy was because I had so many Fire Corvuses that they were easy to 5-star, and then you throw them into Dark Corvus, and voila, you have triple S Dark Corvus. So, I do actually end up using him for when I need to fight somebody that I can't crit, so like Spirit Eye Celine, ML Ken, they're not necessarily units that you really fear, but if you need someone to not crit and then clear, just go ahead and roll in Devil's Descent here. It'll do a butt ton of damage if he's buffed properly. And you don't have to worry about, you know, if they survive, you don't have to worry about counter attacks and what have you. So I don't end up using him super lot, but you know, he's there when I need him. Momo's Momo, she's still the same. I did get Huang Yung. She's my other one-shot queen. What's funny about her, you see I have the crit pieces on her. The reason I have the crit pieces on her because she doesn't crit. Attack plus 27%. Attack plus 21%. That's pretty much... I couldn't find 2 pieces that were better than that all around on the rest of her gear. So, put her with Uber's Tooth. She rocks pretty good. You see the attack's pretty ridiculous. Didn't even get a copy of her, which is funny. But I still have her maxed out, and she's dumpstering Violet. She's pretty much the reason that the meta changed. She can dumpster Violet. She can dumpster A-Ravis. Anything with a lot of health. Freaking, she just blind. She just smokes as long as she's not crazy gimped in some way. So, yeah, especially... The funny part is, if you run her in PvE with, what's her name? Freaking... Hazel. If you run her in with Hazel, and Hazel gives her that greater attack buff, which is like 75% extra attack, it gets a little stupid, so... Pretty fun stuff. The only thing I kind of regret on her, besides the crit set, is she actually has a little bit more health than I want her to have. I'd like her to be more around like 11,000. But you do what you gotta do, right? So, just the way it is. Maybe someday I'll see fit to replace something, but For now, that's how it is. Cerise, she's really good in some expeditions. I probably ended up snatching that boots earlier from. Well, anyway, so yeah, she's really good against. I think it's Brutal Ferris is his name. Just helps push up the team, keep them debuffed, keep them slowed. Extra auto attack whenever ulti's down, and you can actually stun the stupid invisible or invincible minion so that he's not getting the extra turn resets. Although I was considering replacing her with Ran now. There won't be quite as many like debuffs and extra attacks, but Ran could keep up defense debuff. He can put up immunity, so I basically don't have to even care about the little minion that resets turn cooldowns. And I don't know, we'll see. I'll do like a little practice thing. Alots, don't use them as much as I used to, but on occasion, when I need book and stuff. Kitty's still Kitty. I guess I stole her. Something she was wearing. Oh yeah, I stole it with Rim, I believe. I had her on Warhorn. Yeah, honestly, it just depends what I'm doing. I'll just throw Sep on her for now. Just anything to keep her more tanky, because she's a bit squishy. Rowana, that was what I was talking about earlier with, what's his face? General Purgus. So if someone counters, and it's an AoE counter, like Belian or whoever, then they hit General Purgus. He does his bump up in combat readiness, and then same thing with a dual attack or a counter attack. She increases it by 5 per ally attack, so it can be 20, and then you roll in General Purgus's bonuses. Better freaking find them. And you're rolling with another 18, and normally it's 15, but this increases it, so it's like 38% whenever someone. And especially when you get those PvP teams where there's 2 characters or 3 characters that are counterattacking with AoE attacks, and it's just turn after turn after turn, and she's really good. I always run her against Belians and Rems and those types of units, so does really well. Also managed to get. I actually bought Celestine because I never actually got it as a drop. Just so her autos can add a heal on top of adding the shield. So, even though it's not max, it's doing a good job for me. So, really liking her. My only regret with her, I'd really like to get her over 20k, but I'm not that far away. Would love to get her speedier, too, but it's just the way it goes. Ravi, she's always my failure unit. Because I'm always taking gear from her. And to be honest, if I leveled this up and I got her like some better stats, because look at her crit hit damage is actually not bad, but with her you really need 100% crit and attack. You know, would love to have it at least in the 4k range, but it is what it is. So at some point I can snake gear from her. Maybe I'll give it to I don't know, someone else. Hell, I could give it to Rem, who knows, but Rem I used to use her a bit more. I don't use her as much anymore, but she's still pretty good. I do still occasionally roll in double DPS teams with her and SS Bologna. Although, probably Rem in most cases is going to get replaced by Ran now. Just because Ran's going to be a little bit more useful in every situation where I don't need heal block. But sometimes you need heal block, you know, for Roanas or units like that. Ravi's. So sometimes I take her in. Her gear is not really great, but it's good enough for what I need her to do for the most part. So, and then I rolled her with Warhorn because I think I was using her in one of the trials. So that just made the most sense out of everything I was doing. Katie's is still Katie's. Hasn't changed much. Use her for the occasional healing. Don't need really ridiculous gear on her. To be honest, her attack's way too high, but whatever. It is what it is. Tam's Tam. She's just the queen of everything. Keep her at 50. We're getting into my 50 units now, so... But she's so good that it really doesn't even matter. And I kind of actually feel bad for not running her at 60, because I'm sure, you know, maybe speed would get a couple points better. Health would probably go into the 16k or so. In general, her stats would get better, and then you run her with Marguerite's Tome, and especially when she's ulting, it's just ridiculous. But Flan, I don't really use as much as I thought I would, which is which I regret because I 60'd her, and you really don't need to 60 her. That was my mistake. Glow Wings actually isn't a bad relic for her. If you get her like decently tanky, she can put up a little barrier every time she uses her S2, which is fairly frequent here. So every 3 turns. Use her for some PvE stuff, but to be honest, I don't really use her that much right now. Hence, I have a 67 head on her. Good times. But on occasion, you know, she can kind of serve in Rand's role a bit. The major thing that keeps her back, in my opinion, is the lack of a strip. But it's not her job. I shouldn't expect every unit to have a strip. Yuna, I literally just built her. What was it? I was farming one of the events we had like three or 4 events ago, and I just kept the gear on her. I think I refused to max this just because it's garbage, but it was high enough that I needed crit damage on her, so rolled with that. And I actually, one of the things I do think makes her useful is if you get her this exclusive equipment, 30% chance to grant greater attack. That actually procs fairly frequently, which is pretty funny. So if you're running her with a unit that doesn't normally get greater attack, but is a heavy DPS unit, you'd be surprised in PvE, especially farming teams, how good it is. And yeah, overall, I don't think she's like a meta unit or anything, but kind of feel bad for having her for so long, because I remember when I was first playing the game, I really wanted her, like really freaking bad, and it took forever to farm her because the one thing that she needed for the unlock quest dropped really rarely at this really hard back in the day PvE place, which I think was the one where you fought Sez for the first time. Might not be, it might have been another boss, but anyways, it was just never dropped for me. I gave up on her, and then eventually I just got her. It's just the way it works out, and then I was strong enough then, I got the death thing, but she had those things that drop that give her imprints here, so funny. To be honest, I should probably run this with her too, but I don't really use her that much right now. Maybe if I use her in some farming thing. Angelica, I actually put together a, Sinful Angelica, rather. I put together a, what is that? Oh, that's right, I gave her that, okay. Huh, why did I give her that? I thought I had her with, there's the one that increases, yeah, Guardian. I thought I had her with that. Why would I want effectiveness on her? I know she decreases attack, but it's not really super important for the most part. Oh, that's right. It was like a trial. I think when we were fighting against Kayron, I think decrease attack was actually his weakness for that week, so I put that on her. Well, we don't need that anymore, so roll this on. Normally I run her with Guardian Crystals. I run her in my Abyss normal team, just because her with a combination of a couple other people actually gets me the most morale back from the camping. So if I could ever find a way to run her consistently in PvP without getting her killed, because there's so many buff strips in the game, and get her a little bit faster, I'd actually run her as like, you know, a Vildred / any type of reviving hero killers, since she puts up extinction whenever it's up. Well, I swear she does. I just forget what it is exactly. Yeah, cannot be revived, so... she'd be really good against that. Not the best boots, but that crit hit's actually pretty good. I've also taken a philosophy, guys, I should explain this, where gear... Sometimes you throw away gear that is actually pretty good and can serve a role. It's just not either perfect or not good enough for whatever your specifications are, and this all depends on you as a player, but you see like flat attack, you know, in general, useless for her. Not so bad on someone like Huang Yang or someone like that, but effect resist is good, defense, whatever. Obviously I have this for the main stat, but there's many cases where gear, even if it's 2 out of 4 things you use, or 3 out of 4 things, but one's kind of meh. You know, you can still find use for the gear. Just my opinion. I 90'd this because I wanted the speed, and it had crit. That's literally all it was. But it found a niche, and yeah, that's just the way it is. Like, don't let the perfect defeat the good. That's a rule in real life, too. Like, get the best you can out of a situation, but don't, like, scorn everything because you didn't get it perfectly, so... built up Carmen Rose. She's really good against, although he's not in the rotation right now, but one of the expedition bosses, the one you gotta keep stripped, where you lifesteal, but no one can affect each other with buffs. She's really good against that here, and I found in combination with Bloody Rose, actually ends up being a pretty solid unit on that fight, just because you put this up as a debuff for healing on the enemy, and then since AoE heals don't work on that particular encounter, this actually helps keep everyone up as long as it procs. So it's pretty good. I also used this on somebody when I was fighting the Cerise boss fight in Abyss. I forget who I actually put it on, but had to be a mage, maybe. Oh, I don't freaking remember, but... Oh, yeah, actually, this was on Tenebria, because more effectiveness for poisons on single attack, so I wouldn't ult with her when I was fighting Cerise. And then, no, not Cerise, what's her name? Celine. I keep saying Cerise, Celine. And then, yeah, you know, you might put a Vampire Touch. It worked out, got me the win, so. But overall, not a horrible unit. Probably, to be perfectly honest, I should take this pin set and put on someone else, but I do use her, you know. I almost got her Friendship Max. Once I get her Friendship Max, we'll move on. Now, here's a unit. It's funny. I pulled this unit a couple weeks ago, Spirit Eye Celine. I actually can... At the time, I was like, wow, this is going to be an amazing unit. And as we found out, she's more niche than anything else. I do really enjoy her Revive and the Immortality. So you can pair that with other characters that revive in certain scenarios, and it kind of makes your team a bit OP if you know what you're doing in PvP and some PvE. But for the most part, if I build her now, it's going to be more as a niche thing, because I don't really necessarily need her. But, you know, there's certain scenarios where I do need to improve my light team for World Boss and yada yada, so I could actually see myself using her more. She'd be better with 100% crit, higher crit damage, higher attack, and her health's not the best, which I actually find funny, but whatever. I mean, she wasn't complete when I was starting her, so I was actually going to build her right until I got Hua Young, and then I switched everything to Hua Young. So, but oh well, I'm still using her, still having some fun with her. I think she's a well-designed unit, just unfortunately a bit meta. Hazel, like I said, I'm pretty much using her for increased attack greater, the guaranteed. She gives it to one fire unit if it's on your team. So, I actually initially thought it was all fire units, so she'd give greater to like 4, so I could run like her, and Hua Young, and Sermia, and whoever else, and just be like, "Rah!" But, now I give it to the one with the highest attack, I believe, so that's just how it goes. But useful in certain instances. Inos. Now, I was researching morale in, not Abyss, what's it called? A raid calculator, and the combination of her, Sinful Angelica, I have to remember the other 2 units, but basically there's a combination between those units that, Champion Zerato is one. And who else was it? Was it Sigrid? Might be BBK. Actually, I think it is BBK, yeah. And BBK, that actually creates my highest morale team out of all the characters I could use that I actually had built. So, I ended up building a Bino. She doesn't have super crazy good gear, but good enough to survive in base raid. And... you know, she's actually not a terrible 3-star unit. The only thing about her is her healing's kind of slow, but she puts up increased attack and speed, which is kind of weird. when you also have Angelica on the team that does the same thing. But, you know, you can cycle it if you do it right. So you start at the beginning of raid, have one use their buff, wait 2 turns, have the other one use their buff, and then it kind of synergizes from there on your auto team. It has a little AoE heal. At the end of the turn, increases combat readiness of the ally with the highest attack by 20% and dispels 1 debuff, so that's nice. And then I also roll her with Idle Chair, so whenever she's attacked, highest enemy. So basically, my BBK in most cases, when she's buffed, she's taking turns like crazy, which is nice in raid. You can also change this out and just give her Wondrous Potion Vial, and she dispels 2 debuffs. You know, one at the end, one at the beginning of the turn, but I found that running this is more optimal for raid setups, and raid's pretty much the only place I use her, so... Also has a defense break, which I just buffed. You can get a 100% chance for 2 turns with the soul burn effect for 10, which is good on certain bosses. And yeah, you know, so she does her job. That's how it is. Milam, I actually thought I was going to build her just as an anti-stealth, and I probably still will. It's just one of those scenarios where, you know, I kept getting other heroes and they kept jumping in front of her, so... Nowhere near complete, still needs to be awakened. I think I did skill up her a little bit in anticipation. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. Well, anyway, still needs to be skill up, and gear needs to be optimized better. But she can actually be a pretty good force, too. What do you call it? Trials. She can actually be a pretty good force in Trials if you ever with... anyone that basically increases, or does, combo attacks. Sorry, guys, I'm just, like, trying to think too much. Like, with Camilla, actually, she goes good with Camilla, but... Anywho, so, Camilla I just got, and if you saw earlier in my chat, she's one I actually recently 6-starred. I used the little potion thing that they gave to us on her. I was actually saving it. But I figured I'm going to increase Ran, I might as well increase her too. And the reason that I increased her, for one, on her 1, she has a decreased defense that you can burn for 100% again. And also grants attack, increased attack to her, and triggers a dual attack from the ally with the highest attack. So you can use her and like a bunch of the other dual attack units and really do really good damage in the trials. So, and she's putting up defense down at a consistent basis. Also, skill and nullifier increases attack right here, and combat readiness for herself, which is nice. And then her ulti is a thing where when she has lower health, it does more damage. And if she kills someone, she recovers health. So just overall, you know, really good unit for what I'm trying to do with her. I forget, she has another thing that's better, DPS, another artifact, but this was one of them that was listed. That's not so bad. So, that's the reason I got her up. And then Pilus, I just started working on. You see, I got the increased friendship thing on her. I actually think this is a really good unit. I was building her to counter the Belian meta. But now Belian's not as much of a thing, so, but still a good unit to build if you haven't built her. I got her all the way. Well, the game wants to freeze on me now. Yeah, I got her all the way skill treed, so that's pretty much what we're doing. And then everyone else, they're all niche heroes for the most part, basically. I don't know why they're pushing this hero so much. I literally only geared her so I could complete her things. Not 6-starring her, even with if her awakening is really good. I haven't really looked that hard in it yet. Feel bad for taking gear off Dizzy, but that's just the way it is. Luna I probably need to actually rebuild, because they buffed her recently, and she's still pretty good in a lot of niche scenarios. Took gear off of Fairy Tail. She used to have all my speed gear. That's now dispersed between Rana and Pierre, and I think one's on Cerise. Bellona, I had her geared for an Abyss, but it's whatever. Terranor Guard, I could bring him back for one of the trials right now, but I don't like the gameplay where he goes all the time. I think he's a really good unit. It's just a snooze fest to do. Rimuru's one. I also stole a lot of gear from him and gave it to someone else, and on is kind of how it goes. Helga. Oh, I did take her gear, didn't I? Well, anyway, so those are the units I have been using. There you have it. So, now I'll show you guys what I'm actually doing and all my other stuff here. Let's go ahead. So Battlefield. Go ahead and look at my Guild War. I'm probably going to insert Ran into these teams. But for my Guild War defense, I've actually been taking MVP in a lot of Guild War defenses just because this is more of a medium tier guild. And, you know, so if your defenses are hidden and you do pretty good on offense, you can actually do pretty well. The way that my defense teams work, Crow is working on... I'll just show you guys rather than telling you. But he's working on damage share, so he's got damage share here. And then, of course, like always, he has his ulti that when his health is low, he can one-shot. He puts up defense buff. Carrot, she's not super fast, but she's there for the strip. Or at least lessen by 1 turn buffs. She can also has a butt ton of attack. And if she gets popping pretty good, she has double shield. I don't think I showed you guys that when I showed her. But not only her passive shield, but I also gave her Chatty. So Chatty's got a high chance of proccing after she hits below 50%. So people that are like, alright, her shield's down, and they go all in on her, and Crow's taking some of the damage, and then another shield pops. They're like, what the... You know? Although it's gotten a little bit more dangerous now that everyone's trying to counter Hua Young with, oh, what's her name? Freaking... Hold on. Kisei, regular Kisei, which is another unit I'm actually considering building. I have a couple copies over, but anywho, and then we also have, excuse me, turn 1 Immortality BBK, which I also run her with Unity for the hit chance. So especially when it used to be Violet, but basically any character that's harder to hit than normal, she has an extra chance to hit, and it surprises people because I think a lot of people they're expecting, you know, Portrait or something else, and then she rolls out with that. Pretty good stats, pretty high chance to crit, so it works out. Would love to get her critting harder, but for, you know, a level 1 team, that's actually pretty good for a defense team. And then my second team, like I said, I actually run SSB. When she's on defense, she actually has, what do you call it? This on Guiding Light. So people get here and they're like, oh, okay, I'll just one-shot SSB with, you know, maybe Little Charlotte or someone like that, and then not only is she camouflaged, but she's camouflaged, so you have to hit freaking Raz. Which, of course, the smart people, they just take AoE teams in and dust them, or a unit that spots stealth, or, you know, I mean, they scout the teams out. The good guilds, they scout the teams out, and they're like, oh, this is the gimmick for this team, and then they come in and they one-shot you, or they use that website. Whatever, but I think that actually works out for most Guild Wars. Considering what I have, I'm probably going to insert Ran into one of those. I just got to decide where. We'll figure it out later. And what else could I show you? I don't want to show Arena right now, just because it's actually late enough. I probably could, but usually what I do for Arena, because I get sick of all the clicking that's in this game, and Arena's part of that. I only play Arena on the last day, so I hit Arena, right? See how it says I'm in Bronze. I'm actually in whatever it is, Masters or whatever the hell. But I only click this once a week, and I'll do it now. On the last day, Champion, that's what I'm in. So that I only have to deal with this crap 1 day a week. And so now, you know, my defense team, which usually gets stomped, but I'm probably going to put Ran into it now. In fact, you know what? I'll just freaking put it in now. I have Hua Young there. She's good, but she's literally there just for the intimidation. I'll throw Ran in right now. We'll see what happens. I was actually having Pierre be in there, but Rand's the man. So we'll throw him in, and now we got a little bit more intimidation because we got defense break, we got res, we got stealth, we got a one-shotter if you try to bring too many meta heroes. One thing we don't really have is counterattack, but whatever. Counter can get countered really easily now. And yeah, just sitting champion. Haven't really tried to push, don't really care to. And what else here? Oh yeah, so I made it to Abyss Floor 108. I forget what's actually holding me up. Let me actually look at the team. It's all a gear check, to be perfectly honest. Let me see what it was. Oh yeah, this is the one where, like, basically you have one turn cycle before she uses her ulti to beat her, and I forget exactly how the mechanics worked. But it was just some dumb thing where I usually only do these when it's one of those weekends where it's free gear unequipped, because that way I could just switch people out and not have to worry about spending tons and tons of money re-gearing people for certain things. So when they have another one of those, I'll probably do that. Hunt team, really the only hunt team that matters is this team. So not a one-shot team. He's there. He's top tier if you don't have a one-shot team, just because he gives them so much combat readiness. She's there for the defense break. She's there for the defense break in the target. She's there to kill things. She does the second most damage. Rim's there for support and wearing a maid outfit. No, Rim's really good. Just Rim's not as strong as I'd like her to be. I have seen one-shot Rim teams now, which is kind of interesting. But I'll investigate in that at some point. It's just a matter of whatever. The only other team I really care for is Banshee, but have to work on that another time. And then I'll have to figure out whichever one does the Rage set. Was it this team? No. Okay, so apparently I need to figure out a Kaide's team. Oh wait, no, not Kaide's. Azumaki team. So I'll have to research that at some point. But that's what I got for that, and I think that's pretty much it for most of my account now. I already farmed out everything we can do with Guilty Gear at the moment. Yeah, so as far as where the game's going and how I see it, Epic 7, they recently released their video on, what was it called, like the whatever, some type of expansion, basically. And they had a lot of really good ideas in there. And I don't necessarily default. Like, I really don't care about World Arena. I don't even do it, because, you know, what's the real reward for your time? If you're really into that and you love it, great. But, you know, you get a skin, and you get to have a different frame and whatever. It's not a big deal to me, in my opinion. So, since I'm not really hardcore playing this game, what I was saying about the clicking thing, though, like, I'll demonstrate. So, come in here, right? You click these, they'll be there, and then say you want to do a certain thing, you got to hit go to get there. Okay, fine, whatever. Well, now they have, where's it? No, wrong thing. Although that is one part of it too. We could go check that later. The event tab. And it's like, okay, I want to do the treasure thing. There's no auto-click, get all 4 of these. You have to individually click each one of these, which is stupid. And then you got to click over here to go use them, and you have to click the individual things to go use them all. And then you come over here and you click the thing for the reward. And it's just kind of like, it's really aggravating because they have a whole lot of these types of things to where they could literally make the game so much better if they eliminated most of these clicks. To where, like, there's this one, and depending on, like, all these games, there's no skill in them. Like, you're not, it's literally always RNG. You know, like the last one with the hit the bell and see if you could out-hit whatever the dwarf chick's name is. You click it once, you beat her. You click it the exact same way the second time, you lose. You know, there's no skill in any of this, so why not just find a way to auto-do all these mini-game stuff? And I don't know, it's just like a huge waste of time. But you consider that, and then you have to come in here and do regular raid, and that's a whole lot of clicking and for buying things. And you know, you go to the shop, you always have to go and purchase the thing. You can't have like an auto build thing. Click, buy this, click, buy this. And then you come into the guild. You know, you click here, get the daily rewards. You go to aid, you have to click all the freaking aid buttons. You gotta click a bunch of times to set up your world boss team. You have to click a bunch of times to do the guild wars. Inheritance is new, so I can give it a pass. You know, automatically it should just be like donate max, click, donate max, click for both. You know, and then same thing with buying. Like if I want to buy, you know, say, well, I can't really do it, but I'll buy all of these. I have to hit max before I can come over, then I gotta hit buy. And weekly missions, you know, there's not a thing where you could just be like, click, 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 buy, buy, buy. No. I know this may seem tedious to you guys, but it's just I have bad wrists, so I don't like clicking more than I have to do something that... Oh, and another one. I'll show you guys, hold on. This one's actually the most aggravating one to me, so when you're leveling up your minions, like let's say, okay, I got my level 2 minions, right? Oops. Sorry about that, totally clicked the thing. Okay, so let's say, like I gotta click the sword, okay, whatever. I'll go to 3 minions. And let's say I want to level this guy up, right? But let's say I got 10 of them. Well, I want to level all 10. Well, I can't. I have to keep constantly clicking between things. So I'm like, okay, I'll come here. I'll click. Now it hit good. Trying to get a thing to where... I'm trying to get a specific proc, so give me a second. GG Penguins, right? It's not that bad. Of course, when I get here, it doesn't want to actually give it to me. Okay, watch. Now there's this. Damn, it didn't do it. Well, normally, you know how when you hit something in here and it hits good or great, and then another pop-up comes up and like, we've refunded you the penguins, and it shows how many penguins, which I think is a great feature, don't get me wrong, but I have to click to get it off. And then, you know, you got to keep switching between. Like, there should be things where, yo, I want to level up 10 of these, just like there is with the, you know, bulk promotion thing. And it's just a quality of life thing, which hopefully they'll add sooner than later, because that gets really aggravating. That there's just so many things to where, like, things that really need updates in this game. Like Raid, for instance. Elite Raid is basically fine, but when's the last time they really did anything with Raid? Like, this was supposed to be a feature, and now it's just like, whatever. Like, you have to come in here, you gotta click it, you gotta run it, you gotta leave it on auto, and the only reason I come in here is sometimes you get the little things to summon, and sometimes you get the, or you save up the points, and then you could buy, like, the artifact red charms or whatever, and there's really no other reason to run regular Raid. Maybe for some currency, I guess, from the currency shop, which is dumb, but... And, you know, same thing with Pet House, and I just really wish that they'd condense a lot of things, but especially with the mini video game and the leveling system and the guild stuff, it's really aggravating, but... Anywho, I think I've covered pretty much. As far as the meta goes, there's always going to be power creep, there's always going to be... As long as Smilegate has a no nerfing policy, they're never really gonna do huge change, because they've set the precedent of, well, anytime we nerf a hero, we gotta give out these tokens because people invested money to get these heroes and, you know, gear them up and get imprints and get the best stuff possible for them, and which I get to a point, but if a character is too overpowered, That's just the way it is. Like, you know they're overpowered, so you invest in them. It used to be like League of Legends was, to where eventually they'd nerf the hero and everything that you invested in them. Skins and what have you, runes specifically for that character were all gone, right? So, but there's a whole thing with the Korean mindset versus the global mindset, to where the Koreans are much better at holding companies accountable for promises that they don't keep and things that don't make sense. But they're also a lot more emotional about it for the most part, which gets kind of weird. But I mean, it is what it is. So Smilegate made their bed, now they gotta lie in it. So, anywho, guys, that's gonna be it for me. Hope your Epic 7 gaming's going well, and that is gonna be it for me in this video. Oh, one more thing real quick I'll show you guys before we leave. People have been asking me if I'm still playing any other gacha games. Yeah, I play another Eden. I got back into Arc Knights recently, which is pretty funny. And then my guilty game is Idol Huntress, which is actually a terribly designed mobile game. What do you call it? Idol game. But, you know, it has waifus and it has boobs, and it is what it is, so that's why I play it. It's a guy game. Or if you're like one of those ladies that likes dressing up your girls, or if you're into girls, whatever. But that's what I do. So, anyways, guys, that'll be it. Alright, and look forward to some videos on the channel. I'll be doing a couple more gacha videos, but I'm also going to be posting some of the games I'm playing right now. Like, I'm playing Elden Ring. I have playthroughs of stuff that, you know, old school games. You know, give it a shot, give it a check out if you feel like it. And not really caring too much about monetization and all that, but I would like to be more of an active member channel. You know, like, not just leave all you guys hanging and not put content out like I don't, for the most part, for months at a time now. So, anyways, love you. Take care. Peace.